Well, greetings, YouTube. Now that the Avengers movie's out, and I've had a couple of days to digest, I figured to put where are we going to go from here, or the post-Avengers plan. Uh, and it's going to be interesting, because now we have at least something to base ourselves on. We've seen what happens during the Avengers, and it's some interesting stuff. First, let's get with Iron Man, who I think that's what they were talking about is the next movie that's going to be made by Marvel is doing Iron Man 3. The director's kind of set with that. It's not going to be Jon Favreau, but hey, I mean, I'll give it. It has been shown that at least Joss Whedon can do the same character very well. But where are we going to go from here? Now, a lot of people were disappointed in Iron Man 2 in that the Mandarin. We were promised that we would kind of be indicated that the Mandarin was behind everything. And the closest we got was the one guy that sells fake passports to the bad guy in that movie. Was apparently associated with the Ten Rings organization, the terrorist group from the first movie. So I have a feeling we're finally going to see. So that was kind of a disappointment, but I think we're going to finally see the Mandarin. Because hey, that's what fans have been demanding to see or wanting to see. That is the kind of the classic villain of Iron Man. And there's also talk that it's going to be that this movie is going to be co-produced or developed by a Chinese firm. And there's talk that they're going to be doing some scenes in China. And here's the other thing that works with it. Before, it was kind of hard to connect Iron Man to the more very hard science-based superhero. You know, his powers come from the fact that he makes a suit that does this stuff for him. And it's all based on science. And the Mandarin is kind of the opposite of science. That's a great kind of philosophical reason for two people to be against each other. One is very science-based, the other is mystical-based. At least seemingly mystical-based at first. But it became hard for, I think, producers or writers to figure out how to really fit this kind of not out there world or a character into a very seemingly grounded in reality, as grounded as you can be with a superhero film franchise. But here's what the Avengers allows you to do. You've now introduced to Iron Man a very advanced alien civilization in the form of the Asgardians. So you could say that when they find the Ten Rings, that they're Asgardian technology, and Iron Man can pick it up. It's like, I've seen this type of technology before. This is extremely similar to the stuff we saw Loki use during his attack in New York, or something along those lines. So I think it's easier to sell it that the rings that the Mandarin controls are like Asgardian technology they found. You can even try to connect it directly with the attack in New York. You know, open it with whoever the Mandarin. Maybe they make the Mandarin a Chinese diplomat or general who was he was in New York and he finds these rings from Loki that Loki had on him and he uses them to gain power. Could be a good reason. And then he goes rogue in China. He decides he's going to take over China, and Iron Man decides to intervene somehow. Yeah, it's something along those lines. I could easily see working with that character. When it comes to Thor 2, which I think will be the next follow-up one after that, which seems to they're in development of that one right now. It seems like they're in early development. There's been talk of who they're going to get to direct it. Not just talk, but serious negotiations on who's going to be the director. And that probably means that they have a script. Unless they plan on... I don't know how the producers function with that. If they like to bring the director and the writer on at the same time and have the two collaborate so that you get the movie is very streamlined, which is a very good way to do a film if you have the director and the writer feeding off of each other, getting an idea of how you would shoot that scene and then writing for it. Or as they're writing, go, oh, how would I shoot that? Or, if I were to say this character's line like this, I would have had a shot like this. Or I know this actor, that would sound really weird coming out of his mouth. because I have this actor in mind, or the writer can go, I'm writing this for this particular actor, and then the director can go, okay, I can see this actor giving that stuff. So if that's what you're doing, that's great. But a lot of times that means the script, or at least the basic story, is already thought of. Thor, though, probably has the most flexibility. We've barely been introduced to the Nine Realms. And they did a good thing with Loki in that he's captured. So although we love Loki as a character, I think a lot of the most of the movie-going audiences now really fell in love with Tom Hiddleston's portrayal of Loki. He's a great villain. But when the Avengers ends, spoiler alert, by the way, so don't say it, warn you, Loki's imprisoned. Thor takes him back as a prisoner. So you don't have to necessarily now involve Loki. You don't have to address Loki. It's been resolved that he's been brought back to Asgardian justice. He's sitting in Asgardian prison. So you don't have to necessarily use him as the main villain. You can go and tap into another villain from Thor. You don't have to necessarily do the Frost Giants. I would love for them not to introduce one of the other realms. I think that's what most people want to see, a new realm. And you can either do it completely non-Earth based, where you have Asgard, you have, let's say, the Dark Elves, I think would be an interesting one to do. Or wherever the Fire Giants are from. Or you can do multiple realms. As for bringing in Earth, again, you have the idea that Earth has just shown up an invasion. So maybe they will be treated different. Maybe people, what Thor warned about, if you're capable of a greater level of military prowess, it's a signal to the other realms that you're kind of fair game. So it'll be interesting how they kind of do that. They might also show Loki again as trying to get back at Earth, and even though he's imprisoned, is trying to manipulate events from behind a prison cell, which would be interesting. As for the Jane Foster character, it would be interesting, I think, for her to have the tempo work. Thor brings her to Asgard, and kind of have her go through what Thor went through on Earth, kind of having the bouncing around of how should I put it? The fish out of water story. Have her now kind of trying to catch up on how the Asgardians live and work. I mean, you can think of a couple things. One, maybe the Asgardians invite members of S.H.I.E.L.D. to kind of work out some sort of formal treaty of protection or something along those lines, and she joins them to see Thor. Maybe the Hulk shows up. I would love for them to bring the Hulk into to Asgard or something, because Mark Rufio's got a good excuse. Hey, if he punches an Asgardian, he doesn't kill them. So as a place to stay where you'll be safe, Asgard would be pretty good, because even if he hulks out, he's not as likely to get anyone killed. And Thor would certainly be like, oh, certainly, good old friend. We fought battles together. Come join us. I say that because there's no plans to do a Hulk movie. And I mentioned this in my Avengers review. Mark Rufio did a great job. It'd be great if we see more of the Hulk. I mean, he's kind of left where he just kind of goes off, and we get the sense that he's kind of has everything under control when it comes to the Hulk. So, I guess if we never see the Hulk again, it's like, okay, Rufio's at peace with himself. Okay. That's why we don't see the Hulk smashing stuff up anymore. Or we could see him in... I would love if they put him in one of these other movies and kind of just took advantage of that. Like, hey, remember this guy from the Avengers? Well, they are in the same universe. We've clearly established that. The other one that the Hulk would fit in really well with, of course, is Iron Man, which might give us a great excuse to have a Hulk Buster armor. Maybe the Hulk escaped to China and he's doing again doing the whole back alley doctor thing in Shanghai or something, and the Mandarin decides to capture him to use him as a force of destruction, and of course Tony has to build up a Hulkbuster armor to neutralize his old friend, because in the Avengers, don't forget, Tony tried to actually recruit Mark Ruffalo or Bruce Banner there to work for Stark Industries. He was like, really, I can offer a stress-free environment, 10 floors worth of research, anything you want. He was formally offered a job. So it might be interesting to see the Hulk in one of those two franchises, and I would like to see a little bit of impact from the Avengers translate into some of these. What else do we have? Of course, there is the hit on the existing characters, Captain America sequel. Again, with that one, and like I said in the Avengers video, you could easily do again the fish out of water. Him really starting to have the impact that he is out of time. Because I guess we don't get the sense of how long he's been unfrozen in the Avengers. It could have been like he was only really unfrozen a couple weeks, and therefore he'd have that period where he's kind of fine. It really hasn't hit him fully that he is really now isolated. It'd be interesting how they would do it. Would he be more of an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Is it more that he works for S.H.I.E.L.D.? Now, I'm not too familiar with the Captain America in the comics, so I don't know how what he uses as his base. Like, he's still, from what I understand, a lot of times he's still considered, at least before the Civil War. That's the Marvel Civil War, not the actual Civil War. He was, had some sort of official authority with the U.S. government. Whether I guess he still retained his military rank, or he was officially made a marshal at some point, and therefore he was deputized to carry out federal law or something like that. It'll be interesting how they do it, whether he's still considered part of the military and he's considered a special ops guy. I don't know how they would do that. I think it would probably work best considering the Avengers that he works for S.H.I.E.L.D., but he's like an independent agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Would be the best way, and then that would give you an excuse if you wanted to bring Hawkeye or Black Widow back. The more interesting thing would be, who does he fight? Would you bring back the Red Skull? How would you explain the Red Skull being brought back? And him resurrecting Hydra? Or do you have that Hydra is existing, elements of Hydra, like there's Neo-Hydras? That's an ideal. Personally, I would go with having AIM, which was a breakaway group of Hydra scientists, because it has that connection to Hydra, so it has that connection to the first movie. But at the same time, you can go, these guys were really good scientists. These were groups of scientists that weren't really diehards of Hydra. They were kept in the organization because they were really good, but over time, they broke away, and after the war, they'd been kind of mercenary scientists. The only tough one to do would, how would you do the suits? Because they were wearing the radiation suits, which looked really high tech in the 60s and the 70s, but now look kind of silly. I'm sure you could probably work that in. Either you kind of make it so they're a little bit more like armored suits. Maybe you can bring MODOK as... you could do MODOK as a giant kind of... you don't have to do the face. Or if you do the face as like a screen, and just have it that he's a supercomputer that has weapons built onto him. Or you can keep it that he literally is just a computer. That I think would be the best way to do Captain America. Again, though, I think I mentioned this in the Avengers video, you could bring the Hulk in that he's starting to have long-term effects from exposure to the serum, which might be an interesting thing to add. Super soldier serum is having unforeseen consequences, so he's got to find the one scientist who came closest to recreating the super soldier serum, and of course the one that would have the most knowledge on it, which would be, of course, Bruce Banner. You could also do, again, with the whole we're going to kidnap Banner plotline, where AIM or Hydra or whoever you stick kidnaps Banner because they want to create use his knowledge and take some blood samples from Captain America to recreate their own super soldiers, which would be kind of interesting. Hell, you could even do Brainiac. Not Brainiac. Mastermind. Wait. The leader. Stupid me. Yeah, sorry, I meant the leader. You could have him come in and be the villain. Granted, he's traditionally a villain of the Hulk, but hey, he's in Marvel continuity. What's to say he makes his own little organization? And of course, with his knowledge of the Hulk's blood, which is a derivative of the super soldier serum, he would want to get the true original sample from, hey, Captain America. Outside of that, there's talk of doing a Nick Fury movie, which I think would work good. We saw Samuel L. Jackson kicking ass as usual, and really a Nick Fury movie would be a S.H.I.E.L.D. movie. And again, you could bring anyone back. I would say with Nick Fury, you're going to bring back probably at least Hawkeye as well, if not the Black Widow. That sounds fairly good. Again, it would probably just be a S.H.I.E.L.D. centric movie. You'd probably have some sort of villainous organization like Hydra, like AIM, or like the Leaders Group. Again, that's another one. You could have Banner come back, and you could have at least one of the other Avengers. Probably not Thor. He would probably still be doing his own thing, but you could see Captain America making an appearance. You certainly could see Tony Stark making an appearance. War Machine making an appearance. That would be a nice one to kind of make up for the Avengers. Sorry we left you out. Here, have a scene or two. You could do like one scene with him in the Avengers, or in a Nick Fury film. Would be interesting to do. And of course, the other one people are talking about is Ant-Man, which I don't know. Granted, yes, he was one of the original Avengers, but that's a hard one to pull off in a movie. That's the power to shrink yourself. 'Cause here's the problem: when they do the Avengers, they want kind of everyone to be really extraordinary, be able to pull off some amazing combat feat, and the ability to shrink yourself is interesting. But it worked in the campy 60s, but I don't know if it really can translate to a good film nowadays. It might be worth trying, but I don't know. I think that's one of those films that they're going to continue to try, and it's going to be like, really? Because in a lot of ways, it sounds like that's like a jump the shark moment, where a lot of people might go, Ant-Man? Really? They've gone too far. And if you don't believe me, I mean, that's the thing that held back Cowboys and Aliens. A lot of people saw that. I was like, Cowboys and Aliens? Oh, come on. Not realizing that it's actually a pretty damn good movie. But alas, that looks to be it. And then, of course, Avengers 2, if they can get everyone back. I mean, I guess if they can't get everyone back, they could at least... You could drop one or two of the guys. They don't have to return. But, of course, if they return, we know who the villain's going to be. It's going to be Thanos. It might be interesting if they drop hints here or there in the other Avengers movie about the coming of Thanos. Maybe the Mandarin gets his stuff from Thanos. Like, he gets the rings from Thanos. Thanos sends them to him because he wants to weaken Earth beforehand, or something along those lines. Or if the Red Skull returns, it's because the Red Skull was resurrected by Thanos, and he decides, go cause chaos on Earth, re-resurrect Hydra. And when I arrive, Hydra will be put in charge of the world after it's conquered. You guys will administer it for me. It could be an interesting way to pull things off. I'm excited to see what Marvel does with their Avengers verse. Now that they've had them come back together, or they've had the movie that they've been planning. It'll be also interesting if they finally get back any of their rights to the other characters, which had been sold off to other film studios, such as, well, the Spider-Man, they were obviously shooting to redo the franchise, so that's not going to go back anytime soon. Like I said, the big one would, of course, will be the Fantastic Four. And really, the Fantastic Four is valued, really not for the Fantastic Four themselves, but for Doctor Doom. He's the one villain that would be easy to put in anybody's franchise. He's the dictator. He wears armor, so you could kind of make it like he was inspired by Iron Man's armor for his stuff. You have that. Alright, harder to do with the Hulk, but you could put it in as a little bit more of a Norwegian, or he's got a European setting, maybe part of his territory has got Asgardian artifacts in it. They start messing with those. You could also, I mean, you could put him in with Captain America real easy. He's a foreign dictator. He's causing trouble for the United States. He's a bad guy. It could work. Shield, hey, Shield, same thing basically as the Captain America. Dictator, threat to world peace. We have to deal with him. But they would probably do the whole Fantastic Four thing. It's this really, I guess they would certainly have to recast the Fantastic Four because Chris Evans is now firmly Captain America. Sorry, Human Torch. Well, I think I've gone on long enough on this. Signing off for now, guys. Please subscribe.